Today we're traveling back over 2 millennia to a time when one man transformed the political landscape of an entire civilization. Imagine a world teetering on the brink of chaos, its greatest republic shattered by endless wars. Then, from the ashes of conflict, a new order rises, orchestrated by a leader whose vision would pave the way for 200 years of unprecedented peace and prosperity. This is the story of Augustus, the first emperor of Rome, and the era known as the Pax Romana. Let's rewind to 27 BC. Rome, battered by years of civil wars, desperately needed stability. Enter Octavian, a young and ambitious leader who had just claimed victory in the Battle of Actium, defeating Mark Antony and Cleopatra. It was a victory that didn't just win him a war, it won him an empire. In the wake of his triumph, Octavian stood before the Senate not as a conqueror, but as a restorer of the world. In that moment, he was given the title Augustus, marking the dawn of a new era. But how did Augustus secure his grip on such a vast empire? His genius lay in his subtle yet radical reforms. He transformed the Roman government by introducing a system where he appeared to restore the republic while actually placing all real power firmly in his own hands. He reduced the Senate's size for more effective management, but more importantly, he restored its dignity and authority in the public eye. This clever balancing act not only consolidated his power, but also pacified those who yearned for the republic's return. Augustus knew that the loyalty of the military was crucial. He established a professional standing army, the first of its kind, which pledged allegiance directly to him. He also founded the Praetorian Guard, elite soldiers tasked with the protection of the emperor, ensuring his personal safety and by extension, the stability of his regime. These moves secured his military support, essential for his long reign. But Augustus was more than a political tactician. He was a visionary. He overhauled the administrative framework of the empire, implementing a postal system and dividing Rome into manageable regions. These efforts not only improved communication across vast distances, but also enhanced local governance, bringing order and efficiency where there had been none. Economically, Augustus was equally transformative. He stabilized the currency, which in turn rejuvenated trade and commerce. His social policies were aimed at boosting the population of Rome and Italy, which had been severely depleted by years of war. Laws promoting marriage and rewarding childbearing were introduced to revive the heart of the empire. Augustus's era, the Pax Romana, was not just about peace, it was about prosperity and progress. For over 2 centuries, his policies ensured that the empire faced no major internal conflicts, and the borders were secure from significant external threats. This stability allowed for an incredible flourishing of culture. Artists, writers, architects thrived under Augustus's patronage, and monumental structures like the Pantheon were constructed, setting architectural standards for millennia. But what truly marked the Pax Romana was the peace it brought to the daily lives of the Roman citizens. It was a period when a Roman could travel from the foggy coasts of Britain to the sands of Syria, protected by Roman law and order. The empire was connected like never before, with roads, shipping routes, and a common currency facilitating movement and trade. Augustus's approach to governance was also marked by his pragmatism in his succession planning. Though his personal life was marked by tragedies and losses, including the early deaths of his preferred heirs like Marcellius and Agrippa, he eventually settled on Tiberius, his stepson, as his successor. His careful planning for the transition of power exemplifies his dedication to the stability of the empire he had created. As we reflect on Augustus's death in 14 AD, it's clear that his legacy is complex. He was a ruler who seized absolute power but used it to establish a framework of governance that brought immense benefits to its people. The Pax Romana didn't just enhance Rome's power, it enriched its culture, its economy, and its very identity. As we conclude, it's fascinating to consider how the structures and policies established by Augustus, set the stage for the longevity of the Roman Empire. His reign was not without moral complexities, yet his impact is undeniable. Under his rule, Rome was transformed from a republic, shattered by civil discord, into an empire that would dominate the ancient world for centuries. What do you think about Augustus's methods and his legacy? Was he a tyrant cloaked in the guise of benevolent ruler, or a necessary force bringing order into the world of disarray? Crisis of the 3rd century, a harrowing period from 235 to 284 AD, when the Roman Empire was plagued by civil war, economic instability, and external threats that nearly caused its collapse. The crisis began with the assassination of Emperor Alexander Servius in 235 AD, setting off a century marked by unprecedented turmoil. Over the next 50 years, Rome would see over 20 emperors, most of whom met violent ends. This rapid turnover of leaders created a power vacuum, where emperors often rose through the ranks by force rather than succession, severely destabilizing the political landscape. The lack of stable leadership led to short-sighted and self-serving governance, as each new ruler prioritized consolidating power over addressing the empire's broader issues. Frequent usurpations and assassinations fostered an atmosphere of distrust and fear, eroding the traditional Roman virtues that had supported the empire's administrative and military structures. As loyalty to Rome waned, allegiance to individual leaders strengthened, fragmenting the empire's unity and further complicating the resolution of its myriad of crises. The constant civil wars took a toll not just politically but economically as well. The empire was stretched thin, managing multiple military engagements that drained the treasury. The frequent changes in rulers led to inconsistent and often exploitative tax policies, worsening the economic plight. This economic decay manifested in hyperinflation, severe devaluation of the Roman currency, and a heavy tax burden that the citizens could barely sustain. As the value of the currency plummeted, trade suffered and markets destabilized, leading to job losses and a decline in public morale. To finance the endless wars, emperors debased the coinage, reducing the silver content to increase the money supply, which only accelerated the inflationary spiral. The economic instability rippled through the social fabric, exacerbating poverty and reducing the standard of living for the average Roman citizen, leaving the empire even more vulnerable to both internal dissent and external threats. Meanwhile, the societal structure of Rome began to crumble. The continuous state of unrest discouraged trade and investment. Agricultural production declined as fields were left untended or destroyed during conflicts, leading to food shortages and famine. As cities deteriorated, their infrastructure collapsed. The urban population dwindled, with many fleeing to the countryside to escape the chaos and taxation. The external pressures on Rome during this period were relentless. The empire's borders, once secured by the might of Roman legions, were now porous and vulnerable. Germanic tribes took advantage of the empire's weakness, crossing the borders and sacking towns. The Persians in the east also seized the opportunity to expand their influence, capturing Roman territories in Asia Minor. Each invasion not only sapped more resources, but also demonstrated the weakening grip of Rome over its territories, encouraging further incursions. In response to these overwhelming challenges, a transformation took place within the empire. The traditional Roman values and the central authority of Rome diminished, giving rise to autonomous regions where local leaders and military commanders held the real power. This shift was marked by the rise of soldier emperors, who were more often concerned with their personal power and regional interests than with broader stability of the empire. The turning point came with the rise of Diocletian in 284 AD. Recognizing the depth of the crisis, he implemented wide-reaching reforms aimed at stabilizing and revitalizing the empire. He restructured the government, creating a tetrarchy, rule of four, to ensure the better management of the empire's vast territories. He introduced rigorous economic policies to curb inflation and revitalize the economy, and he strengthened the borders with more disciplined military reforms. These measures, though harsh and sometimes draconian, saved the empire from imminent collapse and laid the groundwork for a more structured and resilient Roman state. The reforms also set the stage for the eventual division of the empire into the Eastern and Western Roman empires, a division that would shape the future of Europe and the Mediterranean for centuries to come. As we reflect on the crisis of the 3rd century, it becomes clear just how close Rome came to complete collapse. Saved only by drastic reforms and reimagining of what it meant to be Roman, this period teaches us of the importance of strong, stable leadership and the dangers of political and economic instability. Diocletian. In 285 AD, he embarked on an ambitious plan to divide the Roman Empire into the Eastern and Western Roman empires. This bold move aimed to address the administrative and defensive challenges that had overwhelmed previous emperors. Let's dive into why Diocletian believed his division was necessary and how it fundamentally changed the course of Roman history. Diocletian rose to power during a period of immense instability. The empire was sprawling, unwieldy, and facing threats from all sides. Governed from a single center, Rome was no longer capable of efficiently managing its vast territories or responding effectively to constant threats. Recognizing the untenable nature of this centralized system, Diocletian saw that the traditional structures of Roman governance were ill-equipped to handle the empire's diverse challenges, which ranged from economic decline and internal dissent to relentless barbarian invasions along the borders. In response, Diocletian devised a radical solution to safeguard the empire's future, aiming not just to maintain control, but to fundamentally restructure the imperial authority to ensure its survival and prosperity. His solution was the Tetrarchy, or Rule of Four. This innovative system divided the empire into two major regions, each governed by an Augustus with a subordinate Caesar. This division allowed for more localized governance and quicker response times to both internal rebellions and external invasions. By implementing the Tetrarchy, Diocletian could address the administrative delays that plagued the central government. He took the eastern part of the empire for himself, which was not only wealthier but also faced more immediate threats from the Persian Empire. His co-emperor Maximian took the west, which, though less affluent, was frequently challenged by barbarian invasions. This strategic division aimed to stabilize the empire by ensuring that each region could address its specific challenges more effectively and autonomously. The administrative overhaul was thorough. Diocletian subdivided the empire's provinces into smaller, more manageable units, which made local administration more practical and responsive. He also introduced a new tier of governance, the diocese, aimed at increasing the imperial oversight over provincial governors. This reorganization was designed to curb the rampant corruption that had undermined the empire's stability and to improve the efficiency of tax collection and law enforcement. By increasing accountability and streamlining administrative processes, Diocletian's reforms sought to restore fiscal health and reinforce the rule of law across the empire. These changes not only improved immediate governance but also set the stage for a more sustainable imperial structure. Military reforms complemented these administrative changes, forming a critical component of Diocletian's comprehensive strategy to secure the empire. Diocletian significantly expanded the Roman legions, not just in numbers but also in tactical diversity. This expansion allowed for a more robust and strategic deployment of forces tailored to meet the specific threats faced in different regions of the empire. In the east, the bolstered military presence was crucial for fending off Persian advances, protecting key territories such as Syria and Anatolia, which were vital to the economic and strategic interests of Rome. Meanwhile, in the west, the increased troop numbers and improved fortifications provided a strong defense against the frequent incursions by Germanic tribes. This proactive approach was crucial in maintaining stability and control in these frontier regions. Moreover, Diocletian's military innovations included the fortification of borders through the construction of walls and fortresses along vulnerable points, dramatically enhancing Rome's defensive perimeter. He also pioneered the creation of a mobile field army, a versatile and rapid response force that could move quickly across the empire to address threats as they arose. This force was capable of reinforcing static border defenses and was essential in adapting to the changes of dynamics of warfare, where the speed and flexibility could turn the tide of the battle. These military reforms not only fortified the Roman Empire against immediate threats, but also restructured its military apparatus to be more responsive and effective in dealing with the complexities of protecting a vast and diverse empire. The long-term consequences of Diocletian's reforms were significant. While initially designed as temporary measures to address immediate crises, the division laid the groundwork for what would eventually become a permanent split. This division fostered distinct socio-political and cultural identities for the Eastern and Western Roman empires, setting them on divergent paths that would shape the future of Europe and the Mediterranean. Diocletian's radical restructuring of the Roman Empire through its division was a crucial adaptation in response to the sprawling nature of the imperial administration and defense. These changes demonstrated a significant evolution in Roman governance, introducing a system that, for a time, restored stability and extended the life of the empire. As we reflect on these changes, it's clear that Diocletian's policies marked a turning point, fundamentally transforming the Roman administrative and defense frameworks to meet the challenges of the age. Constantine the Great. His reign marked a pivotal shift in the empire's history, from his dramatic rise to power to his groundbreaking policies, like the Edict of Milan. Let's explore how Constantine shaped the Roman world and laid the foundations for the Byzantine Empire. Constantine's early life was marked by the tumultuous tetrarchy system, where the Roman Empire was divided under 4 rulers to better manage its vast territories. Born to Constantius Chlorus, a junior co-emperor, Constantine was thrust into the realm of politics and military strategy from a young age. Educated in the imperial court of Diocletian and Nicomedia, he was exposed to the complexities of imperial governance and military command. Following his father's death in 306 AD, Constantine was proclaimed Augustus by his troops. However, his path to power was fraught with rivals vying for control of the fractured empire, leading to a series of conflicts and alliances that would eventually culminate in a bid for absolute power. The turning point came at the Battle of Milvian Bridge in 312 AD. On the eve of this decisive clash, Constantine experienced a momentous vision. The Christian symbol of Chi-Rho appeared in the sky, accompanied by the words, "In this sign, conqueror." Deeply motivated by this divine sign, he had his soldiers adorn their shields with the symbol, instilling in them a sense of divine destiny. The following day, Constantine's forces won a resounding victory, effectively paving his way to sole rule. This event not only secured his power, but also set him on a path toward religious transformation, aligning himself with a faith that was still finding its footing within the broader Roman religious landscape. In 313 AD, alongside Licinius, the Eastern Roman Emperor, Constantine issued the Edict of Milan. This proclamation declared religious tolerance across the empire, with a particular emphasis on Christianity, which had been subject to persecution in the preceding centuries. The Edict of Milan was revolutionary. It allowed Christians to practice their faith openly and restored properties that had been confiscated during persecutions. The motives behind this endorsement of Christianity might have been personal conviction or political strategy, aiming to unify the empire under a single, increasingly popular religion. Constantine's decision to shift the capital of Rome to Byzantium, which he renamed Constantinople, was equally transformative. Strategically located at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, this new capital offered significant defensive and economic advantages. It lay on the Bosporus Strait, controlling the naval routes between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean, and was further removed from the Germanic invasions troubling Rome. Constantine personally oversaw the construction of the city, which he envisioned as a new Rome complete with forums, palaces, and Christian churches. The implications of this monumental change were far-reaching. Politically, Constantinople's establishment shifted the power center of the empire to the east, which would remain more vibrant and stable than the West for centuries. Culturally, the integration of Christian values began to redefine Roman identity, influencing art, society, and governance. The endorsement of Christianity under Constantine not only provided the religion a central role in Roman public and political life, but also began a legacy that would fundamentally shape the trajectory of European history. The long-term effects of Constantine's reforms were great. The Eastern Roman Empire, later known as the Byzantine Empire, thrived, preserving Roman law, politics, and culture for over 1,000 years. In contrast, the Western Roman Empire gradually declined, falling in the 5th century. Constantine's religious policies also paved the way for Christianity to become the dominant religious force in Europe, affecting philosophical, cultural, and political developments across the continent. As we look back on Constantine's reign, we see a ruler who was not only a savvy military commander, but a visionary leader. His decisions to endorse Christianity with the Edict of Milan and to relocate the capital to Constantinople were important. They not only saved the Roman Empire from certain decline during his time, but also repositioned it for the future, influencing the course of Western civilization. His ability to adapt and guide the Roman Empire through its challenges reminds us of the enduring impact of strong leadership. The fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 AD. This event marked the end of an era and set the stage for the medieval period. Let's explore the complex mix of factors that led to the empire's decline, including economic troubles, invasions by the Germanic tribes, and the iconic sacking of Rome. The economic foundation of the Western Roman Empire had been deteriorating for centuries before its fall. The empire grappled with crippling inflation, exacerbated by excessive minting of coins to fund the bureaucracy and military, which devalued the currency and led to price surges throughout the realm. A shrinking tax base compounded by widespread land abandonment and a decreasing population due to plague and famine further strained financial resources. Additionally, an over-reliance on slave labor stifled economic innovation and technological advancement, as there was little incentive to improve agriculture or manufacturing efficiencies. As the economic structure faltered, so did the empire's ability to maintain its military defense. This economic instability made it increasingly difficult to pay and supply the legions, leaving the borders vulnerable to attacks and reducing the loyalty among the troops, which was once the backbone of the Roman Empire. Consequently, the weakened economic and military systems entered a vicious cycle, further destabilizing the empire. Turning our attention to external pressures, the invasions by Germanic tribes were perhaps the most direct and relentless threats to the stability of the Western Roman Empire. Groups like the Visigoths, Vandals, and Ostrogoths were driven into Roman territories, propelled by their own displacement due to the movements of other aggressive tribes and the allure of Rome's wealth. The Battle of Adrianople in 378 AD, where the Roman army suffered a devastating defeat against the Visigoths, underscored the empire's weakening military might. This catastrophic loss not only exposed the vulnerabilities in Roman military strategy, but also emboldened other barbarian groups to challenge the faltering giant. This was followed by the sacking of Rome in 410 AD by Alaric's Visigothic force, an event that shattered the invincibility of Rome in the eyes of the world. The psychological blow from this event deeply affected Roman morale and prestige, accelerating the empire's decline. Political instability further exacerbated the situation in the Western Roman Empire. There was a rapid turnover of rulers, with emperors often coming to power through military support rather than hereditary succession or senatorial approval. This unstable political climate led to a cycle of coups and short-lived reigns, which severely destabilized the central authority and eroded the administrative structure of the empire. Commanders frequently seized power only to be replaced by other ambitious leaders in a short order, creating an environment of constant uncertainty and shifting allegiances. The frequent power struggles and intrigues diverted attention and resources away from addressing the empire's pressing external challenges and deteriorating internal administration, leading to neglect and mismanagement of critical affairs. This persistent turmoil undermined the ability of the state to function effectively, making it all but impossible to implement any long-term strategies for recovery. The culminating points of these crises were the symbolic sacks of Rome, events that not only demonstrated the physical vulnerability of the empire, but also eroded its once unassailable image. The first of these occurred in 410 AD when the Visigoths, led by Alaric, breached the walls of Rome. This was not just a military defeat, but a profound psychological blow to the empire, as it was the first time in 800 years that Rome had fallen to foreign enemies. The city was plundered for 3 days, leading to a significant loss of wealth, cultural artifacts, and morale. Just over 4 decades later, in 455 AD, the Vandals, led by King Gesseric, launched another devastating attack. They sailed across the Mediterranean unchallenged and determined, and upon reaching Rome, they inflicted severe damage over 2 weeks, stripping the city of its riches, including precious metals and sacred relics. These events did not just strip Rome of its treasures, but also drastically diminish its prestige and standing as the heart of an invincible empire. The psychological impact of seeing Rome, the eternal city, so thoroughly vanquished resonated throughout the remnants of the empire, signaling to all that the end of the Roman dominion in the West was imminent. The fall of the Western Roman Empire was not caused by a single event, but rather a combination of long-standing economic difficulties, relentless invasions, and chronic political instability. These factors intertwined over time to dismantle the empire from within and without, paving the way for emergence of medieval Europe. As we look back on this historical shift, it becomes clear how the legacy of Rome shaped by the subsequent history of the continent, influencing the rise of kingdoms and cultures that followed in its wake. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this dive into the Western Roman Empire's decline, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more historical insights.